Good evening, everyone. I'm Amita Vissa, moderator of this webinar. We are delighted to welcome you all in the webinar being organized by CCLEA and NPO Committee of ICAI. It is my pleasure to be a moderator in webinar on professional opportunities on POSH on this date, 19th June 2025. It will conducted from 4:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and being organized by Committee on Commercial Laws, Economic Advisories, and NPO cooperatives of ICAI. In a short while, we will start this webinar. I would like to appraise you about CCLEA and NPO committees. This committee is focused to encourage chartered accountants to shape strategy and policies that unlock economic, financial, and social values while combining analytical foresights with commercial acumen. One of the core areas of this committee is to serve the multifunctional task of analysis, knowledge, dissemination, inputs to regulators on policy formulation to develop and publish technical guidance, background materials, and various other reference materials and educational material, and to create awareness for the professional opportunities for chartered accountants in commercial laws, economic advisories, and NPO cooperatives. At the outset, we take a moment to respectfully acknowledge the invaluable leadership of C.A. Abhij Hajir and C.A. Pramod Jain, who are chairman and vice chairman of CCLENC committee. Though they are unable to join us today, their unwavering support and guidance have been instrumental in shaping this initiative. We extend our deep gratitude for this vision and commitment to the professional excellence. Our eminent speaker of today's webinar will talk on professional opportunities on POSH in this webinar, and we hope the same shall be useful to members. It is my privilege to introduce our esteemed speaker for this session, C. Aishwarya Prabhu, a chartered accountant, certified POSH consultant, and a passionate advocate for workplace equality and compliance. Let us take a moment to learn about her inspiring journey and impactful work. Speaker's profile is here. She is FCA AMCOM certified POSH consultant and trainer, founder, director of Ankakshar Consulting OPC Private Limited. She is a chartered accountant, as I have already told you, and a certified POSH consultant with a strong commitment to gender equality and workplace safety. As the foundation director of Ankakshara Consulting, she leads a team specializing in POSH compliances, tax, MCA, advisory, and virtual CFO services. She has conducted awareness sessions and training for reputed organizations, including Asian Paints, True Copy Credentials, Muskan Ream, and various other big organizations, and serve as an external member on internal committees for several companies. With a background in corporate finance at Accenture and a passion for advocacy, she has delivered impactful sessions for ICI branches and industry forums, empowering professionals and HR leaders to implement POSH effectively. Her work bridges the compliances and culture, creating safe, more inclusive workspaces. With that inspiring introduction, it is now my pleasure to hand over the session to the learned CA Aishwarya Prabhuji. We look forward to gaining valuable insight from her vast experience and expertise in POSH compliances and professional development. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Amita. Thank you. It was a pleasure to just listen so many good things about me. But yeah, to start with, myself, CA Ishwarya Prabhu, and I've been working in this area of POSH for 5 long years. And before that, I was working with Accenture Services Private Limited. And then I shifted to practice, and gradually I started my POSH consultancy. So today's topic is very relevant and very important in today's scenario, in today's societal scenario. So without wasting any time, I would like to share my screen and start with the presentation. Yes. So is my screen visible? Okay. So, just to start with, POSH Act was introduced in the year 2013, and it was not that there was no sexual harassment cases happening before 2013, but yeah, as a act, it came into picture in 2013. Okay, so the agenda for today is Vishakha Guidelines, POSH Act 2013, Workplace Sexual Harassment, Prevention and Prohibition, Redressal Mechanism, Professional Opportunities for Chartered Accountants. Okay. So now just to begin with, I would like to tell you a small story and we would go deep dive into POSH after we listen to this story. So basically, it was a usual Monday morning. The cafeteria was buzzed with chatter and clinking cups. Among the crowd sat Meera, a young, ambitious chartered accountant who had just joined 3 months ago. She smiled at jokes, shared lunches with her teammates, and stayed back late when deadlines demanded. But over the past few weeks, something had changed. Meera had become quieter. She avoided team lunches and flinched at sudden remarks. Her work was still good, but her spark was fading. What had happened? It started with small comments. That dress looks very good on you, her team leader said once, with a smirk. Then came unnecessary late night messages, forwarded memes, lingering looks. She ignored them at first. After all, he was just being friendly, right? But the discomfort grew. And yet, Meera did not speak up. Why? Because she feared that she would be judged. Because she thought no one would believe her. Because no one had ever told her this is harassment. It took a posh awareness session just like this one for Meera to finally find the words. She approached the internal committee and for the first time she felt heard. She felt seen. She felt safe. This is not just Meera's story. This is the story of many employees, women, men, and others who suffer in silence because they don't know where to draw the line or that they even have a right to draw the line. That's why we are here today. Why does Meera's story matter? Meera's experience is a stark reminder that harassment doesn't discriminate. It can happen in any workplace, including highly professional environments. As a chartered accountant, we have a dual responsibility to ensure compliance with laws like the POSH Act for our clients and to advocate for safe workplaces in our own firms. Now, how did POSH Act basically come into picture? So this story goes back to the year 1992. The lady on the screen which you are seeing is Bhavri Devi. Now, Bhavri Devi is from Bhateri district of Rajasthan. In the year 1992, Bhavri Devi was working as a Anganwadi worker for the state government of Rajasthan. Her duty was to eliminate or to stop all the child marriages in her district. So Bhavri Devi had been given a responsibility to stop all the child marriages in her district. And Bhavri Devi was a strong young lady who was working independently and she was very respectful and very responsible and committed towards her work. So one fine day she noticed that in her village itself there was a child marriage which was planned in the next later week. So she approached the family and she explained the law to that family that child marriages are not allowed by law. But the family, being a very dominating family, did not listen to Bhavri Devi. Bhavri Devi contacted the local police station and with the state government officials, she reached the wedding venue and stopped the wedding from happening. This made the family very furious, and in return, the family gang raped Bhavri Devi after they finally wed their 1 year old daughter. So, after 5 days of the wedding, they gang raped Bhavri Devi in front of her husband. Her husband was also terribly beaten. But this did not stop Bhavri Devi. She went to the local police station. She tried to file a complaint on her behalf. But the local police station did not entertain Bhavri Devi. She was made to wait for 51 hours for the medical examination. And after 51 hours, the report suggested that Bhavri Devi was never raped in the first place. So, Bhavri Devi was a bit taken aback by this decision, by this reports which came out. But Bhavri Devi tried to reach the local court there. The state government of Rajasthan, in the meanwhile, terminated Bhavri Devi from employment because they did not want to take her responsibility. And Bhavri Devi filed a case in the local court. In the local court, again, the result went against Bhavri Devi. It was not in favor of Bhavri Devi, and Bhavri Devi had nothing left with her. She had lost her job. She had already been raped, so the villagers were not talking to her. They had actually isolated Bhavri Devi's family. After this, a women's committee from Rajasthan named as Vishakha, they stood by Bhavri Devi and they filed a litigation with the Supreme Court of India. They asked the Supreme Court of India a basic question, that isn't workplace safety a fundamental right of every individual? So, any individual who goes to work, isn't it the responsibility of the employer to see to it that they are safe while they are working or they are discharging their work responsibilities? So, the Supreme Court of India came with guidelines in the year 1997. These guidelines were known as Vishakha guidelines. Now, what did these guidelines say? So, the guidelines defined what is sexual harassment. They shifted the accountability from individuals to institutions. So, if any incidents or if any unwanted incidents happens in the organization, the responsibility would not be of that individuals who were involved in the act, but it is of the institution as well. So, safety at workplace was the responsibility of the institutions going forward. It also prioritized prevention. So the Court laid certain guidelines which said that such cases should not happen at workplace and the organizations should take measures to prevent such cases from happening at workplace. And it also provided for an innovative redressal mechanism. So, if at all such cases happen, what would be the redressal or what would be the acts towards redressal which the organizations would be taking were also defined under the Vishakha guidelines. Now, before we go to the POSH Act 2013, here are a few latest case laws which have come up in the current newspapers. So, first is HCL Tech versus Parsarathi. Judgment pronounced January 22nd, 2025. Madras High Court has held that any unwelcoming behavior is sufficient. So, even if it lacked the intention from the person who has made such unwelcome behavior, Bombay High Court squashes hair comment case. In a notable ruling, the Bombay High Court overturned an ICC finding, found it vague, and held that commenting on women's hair, even if it is degrading, is not posh level harassment. Again, Kerala High Court insists investigations be gender neutral. And Bombay High Court denies pre-arrest bail in hospital POSH case. So we will come back to the cases later. Now, after the Vishaka guidelines, which came up in 1997, there were multiple cases which had come up, and there was no real justice being made in those cases. So there was the case of Fanish Murthy of Infosys. Then there was a case of where the PSI was actually she alleged of a sexual harassment case with her. So there were many such cases which came up in the between the year 1997 to 2013, where it was proved that though the Vishaka guidelines are in place, they are not effective, or the organizations are not actually following them very per se. So the POSH Act 2013 came into picture. This act was mandatory for every organization for workplace safety of every woman. So POSH Act 2013 mentioned that no woman shall be subjected to sexual harassment at any workplace. So, POSH Act 2013 is only applicable to women employees of any organization. So, whatever law is mentioned, or whatever rules are mentioned, or whatever provisions are mentioned, they are only applicable to women employees in any organization. So, Section 3, Subsection 1 of Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace, Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013 states that no woman shall be subjected to sexual harassment at any workplace. Now, what does sexual harassment cover? So, sexual harassment includes any one or more of the following acts: physical contact or advances, a demand or request for sexual favors, making sexually colored remarks, showing pornography, any other unwelcome physical, verbal, or non verbal conduct of sexual nature. So, physical contact or advance, a demand for sexual favors, making sexually colored remarks, showing pornography, or any other unwelcome physical, verbal, or non verbal conduct of sexual nature. So, last point, that is any other unwelcome physical, verbal, non verbal conduct, includes staring, it includes stalking on social media, it includes passing comments, it includes unnecessary rubbing of bodies. So, all these cases are covered under sexual harassment. Now, what are the key elements? Unwelcoming, sexual in nature. It might be a subjective experience and impact, and not the intent which is considered. So, subjective experience means this experience might be different for each individual. There might be an individual who feels that she is sexually harassed. At the same time, her work colleagues may feel that it was just a joke. So it is a very subjective experience. It is an individual experience. It may vary from individual to individual. And impact is considered, not the intent. So whatever the accused might say that he never intended to do anything wrong is not considered under investigations when the POSH cases come up. So impact is considered, not the intention. Impact of inappropriate behavior. So far reaching, what are the impacts of inappropriate behavior? Far reaching injury to equal right of women, direct impact on productivity, depression, absenteeism at work, panic attacks, trauma, self blame, guilt, shame, anger, loss of confidence. So if you see inappropriate behavior at workplace may lead to all or any of these symptoms. So it may impact the productivity, it may lead to depression, it may lead to workplace absenteeism, it may lead to trauma, self blame, guilt, shame, anger, or loss of confidence. Now, who is a aggrieved woman? So, a aggrieved woman is a woman who works with the organization. She visits the organization with the intention to work. She might be a regular employee or she might be a temporary employee. She might be employed on contractual basis or she might be a permanent employee. She might earn salary or she might earn wages. She might be engaged through an agent. She might be an intern. She might be an visitor to the organization as a client. She might be she might have appeared to the organization for an interview purpose. So basically, any women employee or any woman who visits the organization with the intention of work has a right to raise a complaint under POSH. It will cover trainees, interns, and domestic workers as well. So, the housekeeping staff which comes in the organization also is covered under POSH Act and they have a right to raise a complaint under the POSH Act 2013. Now, what is a workplace? So, any place which is visited by the employee arising out of or during the course of employment, including transportation provided by the employer for undertaking such a journey. So, any place which we visit for the purpose of work is considered as workplace. Now, it might cover the regular office or it might cover the client place where we are visiting for work. It will cover definitely the transportation provided by the employer to reach the workplace. So, workplace covers organized as well as unorganized sectors. Now, what are the different type of sexual harassment which take place? So, sexually colored remarks, teasing related to a person's body or appearance, inappropriate questions, suggestions or remarks about a person's sex life, offensive pictures, posters, MMS, SMS, WhatsApp, or emails, flirting, or stalking. So, all these would be covered under sexual harassment. Now, examples which do not constitute sexual harassment are follow up on work absence. So, if an employee is regularly missing work and staying absent from the work, then follow ups related to work absences are not sexual harassment. Requiring performance to a job standard. So, work performance. So, follow up on work performance or work performance evaluation is not sexual harassment. Normal exercise of management rights is not sexual harassment. Work related stress, work related overtimes, constructive feedbacks are not sexual harassment. Then sometimes during deadlines or during project completions, there might be extension of work that will not be considered as sexual harassment. Now, what are the different types of sexual harassment? The first type of sexual harassment is quid pro quo. This is very simple. This means something in return for something. So, when a manager or when a person at higher authority demands sexual favors in return for certain other things, that is sexual harassment in the form of quid pro quo. So it is observed in organizations that when there is a hierarchy on the management system, it happens that the seniors may demand sexual favors for promotions or for better increments. So this is quid pro quo harassment. Hostile work culture. Now, what is hostile work culture? If there are a group of people working together and there is an individual who is passing loose comments about certain individual, or might be the dressing sense of certain individual, or there are certain jokes which are inappropriate at the workplace which are being cracked, there is abuse which is going on at workplace, then all such factors would form would be falling under hostile work culture. So, any work culture which is not appropriate or it doesn't make a person comfortable to work, in that case, that will fall under hostile work culture. So, quid pro quo is this for that. Implied or explicit promise of preferential treatment or detrimental treatment in employment. Implied or express threat about her presence or future employment status. Hostile workplace, creating a hostile, intimidating, or an offensive work environment, humiliating treatment likely to affect her health or safety. Now let us see the following examples. Shamima is a lawyer who works as a researcher at an NGO in Delhi since 2013. Dr. Bhavan is the director of the organization and has always advocated for the cause of human rights. During an official field visit to Shimla for 2 days, Dr. Bhavan finds an opportunity to be alone with Shamima and makes a physical advance. Despite her protest, he forces himself on her while giving lurid and sexually explicit details of his relationships, both past and present, with women. When she chastises him and threatens to make his behavior public, he threatens to destroy her career. Now, in this case, if you see, Shamima is a lawyer, and definitely whatever Dr. Bhavan has tried to do with her is sexual harassment, and she can raise her voice to the IC of the organization. Asha is a researcher at a media agency led by Dr. Purushottam, a well known journalist. In the first few months of Asha's employment, Dr. Purushottam is very pleased with her work and publicly appreciates her. Soon after, Dr. Purushottam frequently summons Asha to his office on the pretext of work and makes verbal sexual advances and sexually colored remarks to her. He brushes aside her protest by saying that they would not be able to work as a team unless she interacted closely with him and they both got to know each other well. However, once she categorically rebuffed his sexual advances, he has stopped. Now he ridicules her work and humiliates her in the presence of colleagues and staff. He discriminates against her by allocating projects to her and then arbitrarily withdrawing that work. So, this kind of harassment is hostile work environment. So, basically, here he tried to make advances to her, and later, when she denied, he created the work environment such that she is not comfortable to work in. So, this is hostile work environment. Now let us go to the next important part, prevention and prohibition. So who are the preventive authorities? The employer is the first and the primary responsible preventive authority. Then comes the internal committee. Then comes the local committee and then comes the district officer. Employer, who will be considered as an employer? So the management, the head of the departments, persons responsible for management, households who employ domestic workers, appropriate governments, local authorities. So all these would be considered as employers. So it will be the management of the organization, the HODs, the persons responsible for the management, households, so our individual households where we employ domestic workers, so as a household we are also employers, appropriate governments and local authorities. Now, what is internal committee? Now, this is a place where the chartered accountant can actually come into picture. So, we have a professional opportunity when we speak about internal committee. So, what does the POSH Act say? POSH Act says that any organization which has more than 10 employees, so any organization having 10 employees, more than 10 employees working with them, they have to form a internal committee. Now, what is the rule which they have mentioned? The internal committee is the supreme authority to resolve any POSH cases. 50% of members should be women in the internal committee. Maximum 3 years, one internal committee would serve for maximum 3 years. After 3 years, the internal committee has to be dissolved and a new committee has to come into picture. The internal committee will have a chairperson, two members, and one external member. Now, the external member, as an external member, we chartered accountants can actually work as an external member. Separate IC for branch offices. So each branch will have a separate IC for themselves. So now the internal committee basically tries to work. It comes into picture for prevention, prohibition, and redressal of POSH cases. It is the supreme authority to resolve any POSH case. It has the rights which are vested with the civil court when it comes to case resolvency. 50% of the internal committees have to be women, and one external member is mandatory in each internal committee. Now, what are the qualifications required to be the part of internal committee? So basically, to be a part of the internal committee, definitely you need to know about the POSH Act 2013. You need to be working in the area of POSH if you want to become an external member. And definitely the decision of the external member would be considered as final when there is any investigation which is going on, and whatever decision the external member would be giving is considered to be the final decision. So definitely, as chartered accountants, we can be a part of the internal committees and we can play a role of the external member. Now, what is a local committee? So, local committee would be working for unorganized sector or organizations having less than 10 workers. So, any place where there are less than 10 workers or unorganized sector, the employees of this sector or the workers working in the unorganized sector can file a complaint to the local committee. Now, each district has its own local committee. The head would be the district officer for each district, and the members of the committee would be women working in the area for women development or representing certain NGOs which are working for women development, and they have a reputation in the society. So these women would be the part of the local committee. Now, district officer, state government notified district magistrate, additional district magistrate, collector, or the deputy collector, responsible for compliance within district under his jurisdiction. Now, what are the responsibilities of the district officer? Effective communication of policy prohibiting workplace sexual harassment, laying down detailed framework for prevention and redressal processes, create forums for open dialogues, capacity and skill building of local committees, and widely publicize names and contact details of complaint committee. So if you see, the responsibilities of district officer are effective communication of policies prohibiting workplace sexual harassment, laying down detailed framework for prevention and redressal processes, creating forums for open dialogues, capacity building, skill development of local committees, and widely publicize names and contact details of complaints committee. Now, the next part is redressal. Who can complain and where to complain? So, aggrieved under the POSH Act 2013, only a woman can file a complaint to the IC or the LC. So, the aggrieved woman can file a complaint. If the woman is incapacitated because of the harassment, then her legal heirs can file a complaint. Her relatives can file a complaint on her behalf. Her co workers or colleagues can file a complaint on her behalf. Her doctors, psychiatrist, or psychologist can file her complaint on her behalf if she gives them a written authority to file a complaint. So, primarily, the woman who is aggrieved can file a complaint. If she is incapacitated by the incidences which has happened with her, in that case, her legal heirs, her relatives, her co-workers or her doctors can file a complaint if she gives a written approval or authority to all these people to file a complaint on her behalf. If the woman has committed a suicide, then her legal heirs, her relatives, co-workers or doctors can file a complaint without any written approval or authority. Now, what would be the content of the complaint? So, the date of the incidents, the time of the incidents, the name of the respondent, description of the incidents, and working relationship between the parties. These all topics should be covered in the complaint. So, all these information should be placed in the complaint. Now, what are the IC prerequisites? So, a person who wishes to be on the IC or in the IC committee definitely needs to have critical evaluation skills. He or she needs to have knowledge about the act and the relevant rules. They should have good communication skills. They should be empathetic, impartial, and thoroughly prepared when there is an investigation. Do's and don'ts for IC committee. So, an IC should create an environment for fair investigation. They should respect the complainant and the respondent because the respondent is also a human being and the offense hasn't been proved yet. So, they should respect both the complainant and the respondent. It should be bias free. The IC should not be aggressive. They should not demand graphic representation of the act. The IC should not interrupt while any party is expressing their side. So, if any person is trying to tell their own story or their side of the story, the IC should not interrupt. They should patiently listen to both the parties. Complaint process. Only written complaints, that is, only written complaints would be entertained. Complaint should be made within 3 months of the incidents or the last incidents. In case of series of incidences, they should share the complaint with the respondent within 7 days. Within next 90 days of the receipt of the complaint, the investigation should be completed. Mandatory for the organization to act according to the IC recommendations. So, whatever the IC recommends, the organization has to follow the recommendations of the IC. So, the main concerns here are the complaint should be only written. Those complaints would be treated as valid complaints. Complaints should be within 3 months of the incidents or last incidents. The complaint should go to the respondent as well within next 7 working days, and within 90 days the investigation should be completed. Now, what is conciliation? So many a times the IC tries to informally redress the complaint. So they will try to informally sort out the issues between two parties rather than going for a formal redressal or a formal investigation. Conciliation will take place only before the formal inquiry is initiated. So, before a formal investigation is started, conciliation can happen between two parties. Once a formal inquiry is started, the parties cannot opt for conciliation. Now, what is a she box? So, she box is the latest development in the area of POSH. This is a government box where each organization is required to register themselves. The once every organization gets registered here, they can directly file complaints with the she box portal. It is a government initiative to reduce POSH cases in organizations. So currently, as chartered accountants, we can also take up activities where we can actually register our own clients on the SheBox portal. Now, what is the role of CAs when it comes to POSH? So we can start with compliance audits. So as chartered accountants, we are very expert in audits, or we have that expertise of audits. So definitely we can identify gaps, recommend improvements, and help avoiding legal penalties to our clients. So compliance audit is the most primary professional avenue any are organizations POSH compliant? So for the first thing we should ask our own clients is whether we are POSH compliant. If the client says no, they are not aware of POSH, then definitely as a chartered accountant we can make them compliant by telling them what exactly they need to do for becoming POSH compliant. We can help them form an IC where mandatory. We can conduct training and awareness sessions. We can maintain the documentations and records of every IC meetings and annual report filings. We can definitely assist our clients in filing their annual POSH reports with the district officer. Annual report preparation. So we can help our clients in preparing annual reports just like we prepare tax audit reports or statutory audit reports. We can definitely help them preparing annual POSH reports. We can review the POSH reports. We can collect and verify data from the IC. We can analyze trends of complaints, and we can ensure a proper reporting format as per the POSH Act 2013. Because most of the times the client is very unaware about the latest developments in the Act, even though they have a POSH compliance in place, they are not aware that how to make a report. So definitely we can help them making the report and ensuring a proper format as per the prescribed Act. Policy drafting. So definitely we can be a valuable support in drafting POSH policies, reviewing POSH policies and updating POSH policies. We can actually see whether if there is a policy existing with the organization, we can see whether the policy covers all aspects of the POSH Act. We can align policies with the organization's policies and labor laws. Regular review of policies to address changed workplace dynamics like work from home scenario. So we can definitely regularly review policies for the organization to see that if the work culture or if any work dynamics has changed, and we should incorporate the dynamics in the existing policy. Training and awareness. This is a area where every chartered accountant can actually be very active and participative. We can conduct and organize trainings and awareness sessions. We can develop industry specific training modules, specialized IC training modules, that is specialized trainings for IC, and investigation assistance. So as an external member, we can definitely play a valuable role in assisting in investigation and giving the final judgment. We can also act as an advisory service for employers, like we can help them setting up their IC, defining its roles and responsibilities, developing framework to integrate POSH compliance with the organization's overall governance practices. Support during IC investigation. So definitely if we are not a member of the IC. If the IC members need any documentation support, we can actually be a good guidance or a good support in documenting certain things, like documenting the evidences, preparing the minutes of the investigation. We can definitely come into assistance in certain investigations and inquiries, providing guidance on financial and contractual implication during inquiries, acting as an independent observer in cases requiring unbiased oversight, acting as an independent observer in cases requiring unbiased oversight, integration of ESG and corporate governance. So, environmental, social, and good governance practices requires POSH compliance. So, we can definitely work as an environmental, social, and good governance practitioner. Integration of POSH into existing ESG framework, ensuring transparency and accountability in workplace governance. Tax and financial implications. So, definitely budgeting and accounting for POSH compliance expense, analyzing tax implications such as whether training costs qualify for deductions, managing financial provisions for risk mitigations. Advocacy and public awareness. So, running public awareness campaigns for POSH, articles, blogs, and white papers on POSH compliance. Collaborate with NGOs to promote POSH objectives. Yes, so this is from my side. Now I'm open for question answers. If anybody has any question answers, definitely I'm open for question answers.
There's one question that what's the role of CAs in POSH? So I think your lecture has already covered so many things. This is the one question till now we have got.
Okay. So, like I explained, as a chartered accountant, we can promote or we can advocate workplace safety, or we can advocate workplace equality. So, we can actually get ourselves certified as POSH consultants, and we can conduct trainings. We can see to it that the work environment in the organizations is such that it is comfortable for all genders to work with. We can be a part of the IC. We can definitely provide annual reports to the district officers, so we can work on annual reporting in under POSH. So these are the avenues, and like I mentioned right now, there are many other avenues where you can think of actually working and promoting ourselves as chartered accountants, promoting workplace equality.
Yeah, another question from Sangeeta Rathiji that can you suggest some training module?
Yes, there are quite a few trainings which are available from private players. So there is a organization known as No Means No. So if you search on LinkedIn, you would get a organization as No Means No by Vishal Basin. So basically, they conduct POSH sessions, and they have regular POSH training modules. Institute of Company Secretaries also has a POSH training course, but I'm not really sure about that. And definitely, we can actually request our own institute, to conduct such courses so that we create more trainers and more chartered accountants are aware about POSH.
Yeah, one more question from CA Shubhangi. How to get POSH certified? Can you throw some light? I think this is covered right now.
Yes, yes. So you can visit different pages of organizations who provide trainings to to any individuals, and definitely we can get certified. I have also published one book under ICAI itself, which has certain specialized points for chartered accountants. So you can definitely go. It's on the ICAI portal, so you can download it and read it. about opportunities for chartered accountants.
Yes, so there are a lot of questions coming. One question from Amit British Gupta. Modern offices follow a more casual environment. How do we determine if regular conversation can turn out to be part of POSH?
Yes, this problem is faced by many workplaces right now. So many, it happens that in most of the IT industries also, the work environment is very casual, and then people end up commenting, or people end up like complimenting or commenting about certain things which they are totally unaware, and this leads to problems. So basically what we do, or what I do, that when I visit organizations, I have a specific to do list and not to do list for employees. So that I have come up with certain golden rules which an employee should follow, that an employee should not be very friendly, he should not be over indulging, or should be very over friendly with his female colleagues. He should try to compliment to he should try and avoid compliment female colleagues. So even if he compliments, the compliment should be very subtle. Personal questions or personal life should not be discussed at workplace. And the last thing is, try and limit your conversations post your office. So post your office timings, conversations with colleagues on personal WhatsApp should be avoided. So there are certain more rules which I try to explain it to employees of organizations, that they should follow these few criterias to be safe, so that such cases do not arise in future. So it happens that like accidentally we try to be more friendly, or we try to build bonds at workplace, and might be the other person takes it in a completely different sense, and then a posh case comes up. So try to be as professional as possible in the workplace, and try to limit relationships with working colleagues outside workplace.
Okay, the next question is from CS Sudhir Kumar Das. If any company is not making changes in the POSH committee, that is the same people are there for say over 10 years, what offenses and actionable things can be against the company or them?
Okay, so now let me tell you, this is a very good question. So let me tell you that POSH committee has to be dissolved every 3 years. So the committee has to be dissolved every 3 years, but the law never nowhere mentions that the same people cannot be a part of the committee. So if an organization dissolves the committee and reforms the committee with the same members, that is permitted by law. But there should be the dissolution of the original committee. So after every 3 years, you should dissolve the original committee and then form a new committee with the same members. That is perfectly fine, because many a times organization faces challenges when it comes to IC members. So people are not willing to be a part of the IC, because they find it that if there is some case which comes up later, definitely they would be held responsible for the investigation. So people are not very willing to be a part of the IC. Hence, many organizations face this challenge, that members are same or they continue to remain same. In such case, definitely each organization should see that they dissolve the existing committee and they reform a new committee. Then they have to submit a letter, or they have to submit a form to the district officer, that our existing committee has been dissolved and we are coming up with a new committee. A board resolution is passed, and this form is submitted to the district officer every 3 years.
Yeah, the next question is regarding the size of the organization, whether proprietor or company who is required to, which company is required to get this POSH committee's implementation. Like question
Yes,
is
so
the
now,
size of the.
this again, let me tell you, POSH compliance is not industry wise, or it is not company wise. Basically, any workplace or any place where there are 10 or more people who are working together, or who are working there for that organization, that organization has to be POSH compliant. They have to follow the POSH compliance process. So let it be a proprietorship or a partnership or a company or a unorganized sector, like let it be a sports area like sports playground or sports institution. So any place where 10 or more people work together, they have to mandatorily register themselves and get themselves posh complied. Ma'am, you're on mute.
Yes, next question is regarding the timeline. It says, let me read out the question from Ms. Sharma, that what are the key timelines for resolving a POSH complaint?
Yes, so if a complaint is received, firstly, a complaint should be received within 3 months of the incidence. So, a complaint which is received after 3 months of the incidence will not be entertained by the IC. So, ideally, a complaint should be received within 3 months of the incidence, or if there are series of incidences, then the complaint should be received within 3 months of the last incidence. So, after the complaint has been received in the prescribed timeline, then within 90 days from the receipt of the complaint, the investigation procedure should be completed. So, within 90 days, the investigation procedure should be completed, and within next 10 working days, a report should be submitted to the management, and the management should take, the management must take, I will not say should take, the management has to take action according to the IC recommendations within next 60 days. So if you see, it is a very time bound process. So 90 days for completion of investigation, and after that 60 days for acting upon the recommendations by the IC.
One more question is there, that whether practicing chartered accountants can be a POSH trainer or they can provide the training as a certified POSH trainer.
Absolutely, we can. So there is no provision as per the ICI which mentions that okay, we are not supposed to do any such thing. We can advocate workplace safety. It is more than a professional responsibility. I feel it is a very noble cause, and it is a very it is a must required activity which, as chartered accountants, as advocates, we can definitely do it for the society. So definitely we can get ourselves certified and practice as posh trainers.
Yes, ma'am. Another question is, what are the consequences of non-compliance if there are more than 10 employees?
If there are more than 10 employees and the organization is non compliant, first thing is there can be a monetary penalty of 50,000 rupees. So, minimum 50,000 rupees monetary penalty is there for non compliance. This penalty may turn into crores of rupees, because there was an organization which was based in Chennai, and they were consequently non-compliant with POSH, and they had to actually pay a fine of rupees around 6 crores. So, because a case was initiated against that organization by a female employee in the organization, and the non-compliance was constantly being followed, so they were actually penalized for about rupees 6 crores. So 50,000 minimum, which may extend to any amount. And secondly, if non-compliance is repetitive, there is a provision in the act which says that the termination of business license can also take place. So 50,000, and for repetitive offenses, termination of business license is the final punishment.
Okay. Uh, can a chartered accountant become an external member of IC? What qualifications are needed?
Yes, a chartered accountant can become an external member in the IC, provided he has the knowledge about POSH, he has been or she has been working in the area of POSH, and working for a considerable time. So, if she has a knowledge and she has been working for a considerable time in the area of POSH, she can definitely be an external member.
Let me read out the next question. What this type of complaints to be done through whistleblower sites? Can this type of complaints be done through whistleblower sites? I think aggrieved women will only be required.
Yes, so any unnamed complaint will not be entertained, and the complaint should come from the aggrieved woman, or if she gives any written approval or authority to her colleagues or to her relatives, then they can file a complaint on her behalf. Randomly a complaint cannot be raised. There is a specific inbox, or there is a specific mailbox which every organization creates for POSH complaints. They create certain helpline numbers if the organization is a big organization. So there are helpline numbers, there are mailboxes which are specifically dedicated for POSH complaints. So whistleblower sites would not help. Proper channels of complaints should be followed.
Okay, ma'am, these were the set of questions till now.
Okay.
So, any more questions? We would address those answers. If other questions or queries are there, you may write to us. Suggest some. Please share the name of the book issued by ICI. That's one question.
Uh, yes. So you can just search in your ICA portal for CA Aishwarya Prabhu Professional Opportunities for Chartered Accountants in the area of POSH. So you would get the book by that name. Professional Opportunities for CAs. Advanced POSH, something of that sort. Advanced book on POSH for professional opportunities.
That were the questions which come up, and I think we have covered up a lot. Uh, should we proceed to conclude, ma'am?
Sure, sure. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
I would like to give the vote of thanks to our learned speaker on behalf of organizing team. I extend our sincere gratitude to C. Ashwarya Prabhu ma'am for her insightful and enriching deliberation on the prevention of sexual harassment POSH at the workplace. Your session today shed light on not just legal and procedural framework but also the larger cultural and ethical responsibilities organization must hold. Your deep knowledge, practical perspectives, and passion for advocacy made the discussion truly impactful and thought provoking. There were so many keynotes to be taken from your session: audits for chartered accountants, policy drafting. She-box was a new thing which we have come to know by your lecture, training and awareness, advisory services, and so many. Once again, I thank you for taking the time to share your expertise with us and for contributing meaningfully so much collective understanding for us on POSH compliances and growing professional relevance. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure being here. Thank you.